Hello, unique awesome people. How's everybody doing? I'm in lockdown again out in St. John's, Newfoundland. Wah wah. But life goes on. So today I wanted to talk about kitchen table poly. This is something that I think is a newer terminology, or at least for me, it's a newer terminology, but it's not a new concept. I like the fact that there are labels for things to help people better understand who have a misconception of situations. And we all know that in the new coming or observation of the polyamory community, there are a lot of assumptions that don't always add up. And actually, I'm reading a really great book right now called More Than Two. Not a book I thought I really needed to read. I was actually just looking for helpful ways to help other people who reach out to me. But I realized, you know what? There's a lot of really great insight in this, and it's a juicy, juicy book. So take a read. It's wonderful. I'm only a quarter of the way in right now, and it is like tantalizing my taste buds. And they point out about all the misconceptions about polyamory in it, and I think that's a helpful way to help the general public better understand, which obviously can help all of us have a happy, healthier life, right? So kitchen table poly for me is another one of those terms that is used in the polyamorous community. It falls under, like with all the other terms, that I don't normally pay any attention to, just for me personally. So this is obviously my channel and my journey, my exploration, and my shared experience, right? So I just wanted to be true to my personal experience, right? So I'm not somebody who really connects with the notion of hierarchies, which I've mentioned in other videos, and so there's all these other terminologies that come along with those concepts that I haven't really taken the time to learn, so I'm a little bit ignorant about them. If you're somebody who has insights and experience with them, feel free to put them in the comments and better inform me, because I should learn. I'm just being stubborn. I have that trait. I'm a Leo. But kitchen table poly is something that I connect with well. So I was using that explanation so that I could quickly apologize for not having a better understanding of a lot of terms that I could share here to also better inform everybody, because I'm being stuck in my ways about the particular information that appeals to me more so. So in kitchen poly, the overall concept is that all active partners involved, whatever those relationship parameters are aware of each other and in a connected relationship with each other to some degree. They may not be sexual partners, because again, like in polyamory, it's common to have an asexual partner, somebody who doesn't even really have a lot of sexual desire. So obviously all poly relationships have very unique dynamics. It's not to say that this applies specifically to a sexual relationship, but it basically means, hey, we're all sitting down at the kitchen table together. Now, in today's day and age, most of us don't even sit at the kitchen table. So I thought this would be a cool video to make, because I love the concept. The concept that, you know, all of our partners are each other's connected support systems. That is what attracts me to polyamory, personally. Now, I talk to a lot of different people, and they share a lot of insights with me, and people who have long-term, healthy, happy, fulfilling relationships, dynamics that function quite different than what I particularly find appealing. So that's okay. We all have our different tastes, and that's what's so interesting about our world, and what makes it so grand to have the option to be polyamorous or monogamous. And so for me personally, I like the idea that all partners are connected and sharing some form of a relationship together. I feel that that is an opportunity to build such a grander unit of support and connection. And I personally feel that, you know, connection is what life is all about. So how do we do it in the most grand scale way possible? For me, that's what makes me happy. I'm also a foodie and a chef, so the idea that we're on to sit down at the kitchen table together makes me really happy. You know, as a unit, it's a nice idea that, you know, one of the partners amongst the relationship dynamics involved, you know, could be helpful in picking up the fresh microgreens that one of those partners absolutely loves to not run out of in the fridge, and they would just think of it because they were out and they know that that person loves and wants them, even though they possibly might not be direct romantic partners or sexual partners, sorry. You know, you could be helping each other with an abundance of different things in your life. And to me, that's just the most alluring idea. Now, today's day and age, we all live very different types of lifestyles. So for me personally, like, I'm not even really looking to share my living space with somebody. I think that word is called solo poly. So how would I sit down at the kitchen table with all my partners, right? Well, I think it's more of a metaphor, you know? So the people who you are interconnected with, like, why shouldn't they be interconnected with each other? And so whatever amount of, expectations you put on the table for how to stay connected, that will vary depending on the people and their lifestyles and where they live and what's happening in their world. I have experienced relationships with people where, how often we talk and in what depth and when we share a connection sort of varies over time. And that doesn't change the validity or the position of the relationship. Now, it could, but it may not as well. So that's something to think about, right? So for me personally, I love the idea that, my partners and their partners, we could all be friends and be a powerful unit. I really, really like that idea. I've mentioned in other videos, I work in the sex industry. I prefer to call it the adult entertainment business or the stripping industry, but it has morphed into the sex work industry now. So to be politically correct, I thought I would inform you all about that. And so, in my industry, there is, difficulty with relationships, obviously. Traveling and, stigmas and everything you can imagine that goes along with that. The other thing that's happened over the last, I'd say 15 years, Canada did a great job, that's the country I live in, of changing their international work visa opportunities for this particular industry. A little shy of 10 years ago, and that put a big dent in the problem of human trafficking. And I'm going to call this dark subject out right now because it directly affects my reality. So it's important to mention. In my industry, where I'm surrounded by all these potential partners who could be incredible support systems in my life, unfortunately, there's a separation of our camaraderie because of the trafficking. There's heavy exploitation. I believe the cities themselves are exploiting these women by taking money from us for licenses and not educating or requiring us to pass any tests. And then it bleeds into we go to the club, and then the club exploits us, and then our boyfriends exploit us, and then hopefully it doesn't excel to an even more severe place of international human trafficking, as most of you know it from the Hollywood movies. But there's something else going on underneath those layers in our society day to day. It's not necessarily directly connected to the stripping industry, which is domestic trafficking. So give that a Google and learn about it. It's interesting. So because of that, it's put this dark cloud on sisterhood and our ability to trust and have loving, nurturing relationships. People are all out trying to exploit each other. It's a terrible thing that's been happening. But as our society continues to evolve, these types of things transpire. So, it's been difficult and upsetting for me. And so that makes me long for that even more, because I used to have a connection in my industry with my sisterhood that I'm now not really able to experience, at least not on the depth that I was before. So I really crave what I guess is being called kitchen table poly, and I didn't realize that was the word for it. But many years ago, in group relationships that I was with, I did experience what that feels like, and it is an incredibly fulfilling feeling for me. So the idea that I personally would date a partner who is polyamorous but doesn't necessarily want that dynamic. They prefer to have different types of structures in their relationships. They're not interested in knowing my partners and having relationships with them because they prefer something else. Well, that would mean that particular person isn't ideal for me. Our core values don't connect. So I thought that it was important to share all this here because it's an interesting conversation, and I'm sure it will spark some perspectives that you guys might have, and I'd love to hear about them in the comments. It's not something that I long for to an extent that I feel an unfulfillment by not having, but for me to expand on a relationship long term that's got some deep validity to it, I would really require personally partners who are excited by the idea of kitchen table poly. So yeah, like, why wouldn't we all sit around when we can at a table full of the amazing food that I make? flavorjunction.com, and on YouTube, Flavor Junction, FLAVOUR. Sorry, I want to plug myself in there. I love to share healthy food and wellness. That's something that's really important to me. So naturally, I would really like to have people like that in my life surrounding me, right? So what are the core values in your life? What are the things that matter to you most? What are the things you hope one day you'll connect with partners who share these similar feelings? I'd love to hear about them from you. Have a great day. Thanks for coming to check out my video.